Hello friends, Old Thunder Chief here. Finally got around to completing my 2,500 mile ride review of my 2019 Kawasaki Vulcan Voyager. This trip was taken in September of 2023. At the time of this trip, I still had many upgrades waiting on time and money to complete. I'm sure we've all faced those challenges, especially with a bike that lends itself to customization or replacement of parts, upgrading, seats, windshield, handlebars, etc. So with that in mind, the bike was a little less comfortable than it is now, but that's not to say that the Voyager's uncomfortable. It's not really. I made a 2,500 mile trip with it stock and loaded down with all kind of luggage, and had my drone with me, which took up all of the trunk space, so I had to stuff a bunch of stuff on the back seat, which kind of made the cockpit crowded. Anyway, in these scenes, you'll see where I'm riding in the mountains through Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, wet conditions, some nighttime conditions, all of the things that if you go on a tour or a long ride that you will encounter. So anyway, and I've made a bunch of changes to the bike since then, and you can watch all those videos elsewhere on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it at your leisure. For today, I'm just going to give you my general opinion on the Voyager as a stock machine, other than the Ivan's upgrading the cushion grips, which were the only two things I had done prior to this trip. So on the first day, I left from my home in Lucedale, Mississippi, which is where I live, South Mississippi, and traveled to Lookout Mountain as a side stop on my way to Ooltewah, Tennessee, which is just outside of Chattanooga. Stayed the night there. Bike ran flawlessly. It was the first time to really ride the bike in the mountains, which, like I say, riding up Lookout Mountain, it had rained. So I was a little unsure of, how the bike would do with brakes and handling and all that, but it did fine. And I just took a little extra time just to be safe because, riding aggressively is just not my thing. I've seen too many accidents from people just being over-aggressive in unfamiliar territory, or just trying to prove how capable of a rider that they are. And as I've aged and just experienced things in life, it's just, it's easier to just slow down, use some common sense, which typically is not really common anymore. But anyway, that's another point for another discussion. But just like I say, took my time and had no issues. Rode on to Ooltewah, spent the night, got up the next day. Kind of did a back way to get to Natural Bridge, Virginia, which is where I was slated to stay for the night at the Natural Bridge Historic Hotel, which is old, it's been there a long time. So I did a roundabout ride. I went up through by the Ocoee Whitewater Rafting Center on the Ocoee River, up through Murphy, and then across the Nantahala Outdoor Center on the Nantahala River, which to me is more like a creek. It was very beautiful, very scenic. If you've never been there, if you think you're going to jump in that creek and take a dip, you will be right back out, because that water is consistently about 49, 50 degrees. It's very cold. But a lot of people do whitewater rafting on it. Like I say, just beautiful. Anyway, eat lunch, left there. Made my way on over to Asheville, and then another jaunt through the woods and through a couple of national forests. Came out in Damascus, Virginia, got on the interstate, and it was raining really good, but the bike provides really good weather protection, in my opinion, as good as any motorcycle I've ever owned, to include the Gold Wing that I had for a while. But anyway, rolled on. Got to Natural Bridge about 8:15 or so. It's starting to get kind of dark. The headlights perfectly fine, stock. I have since upgraded LED. Don't really see where the LED provides a whole lot more light than the stock headlight. Now the two side lights, two driving lights as they call them, they do provide a lot of light. So that is a good feature. And if you do upgrade to that, you will see that. But anyway, spent the night. Like I say, no big deal. Toured Natural Bridge the next day. Left, went over to Appomattox Courthouse. in Virginia, which is where the Robert E. Lee from the Confederacy surrendered to Union General Grant. Kind of started the end of the proceedings to end the Civil War, which was disastrous. But yeah, side note, I was really shocked when I tell people where I was going, or they ask me where I was going. I tell them the Appomattox Courthouse, and they ask me why I was going to see a courthouse. And I kind of explained to them it's where the Civil War kind of started. It's, winding down, where first of all of the Confederate generals started surrendering in the field to, generally generous peace offerings from the Union forces as directed by then President Abraham Lincoln. They kind of gave me that blank stare, like they had no clue what I was talking about. So just a kind of a sad note on modern appreciation of American history and events that were pivotal in those times as well as now. Anyway, not going to spend a lot of time on that. Just an observation. Another long day's ride. I got to Norfolk that night where I was going for a conference. Bike ran flawlessly. Like I said, just no issues. I'd say I averaged about 38 miles per gallon per gas, and that's driving anywhere from 75 to 80 most of the time. Especially when I was on the interstate, I was doing 80, or an indicated 80, which I think is probably realistically about 77. For whatever reason, motorcycles, speedometers are notoriously off for a few miles per hour. Every motorcycle I've ever owned has had that fault, failure, whatever. Spent a few days in Norfolk. I drove around town just going to get odds and ends and groceries and whatnot, and that kind of proved to me the bike as being able to live with it day in, day out for just normal short range driving, riding to where, things. And that's not something I necessarily hear much of, is how livable a bike is, or how easy it is to live with a motorcycle just day in, day out, doing a myriad of function, running to the bank, to the post office, to Walmart, what have you. This bike, to me, is just fine to do all those things. It's not only capable as a cross-country tour, it's also capable of just a day in, day out rideable motorcycle. No really bad vices that I can find, not for me, but I've been riding a long time, so my opinion of that is, like I say, 30 plus years of riding. So anyway, after the conference, I departed and made my way to West Virginia, a place called Marlington. Spent the night there, and I arrived way after dark, and like I said, those headlights did just fine. But then again, I slowed down because there's a lot of two-lane curvy roads in the mountains of West Virginia. But no big deals. I mean, the bike did just fine. Like I said, I wasn't driving 100 miles an hour either, trying to scrape the pegs and all of that. Those days are way come and gone for me. Spent the night, then I went over to Cass, West Virginia. Spent a couple of days there at a state park, which is basically a preserved logging town from the 1900s. They got a lot of live steam engines from the period there. If you're a steam train engine buff or fan, or just want to see something unique, that is a really cool place to go see. It's very well preserved in a beautiful part of the world. Highly recommend it. The day I left, it started raining about 4 a.m. and my destination was to get to Maggie Valley, so that was about 375 miles, and out of 375 miles, I'd say 350 of it was spent in the rain. So once again, a very positive testament to the weather protection that the Voyager provides. And plus, I did upgrade the tires to the Michelin Commander 3, so they do provide a really good, confident ride. I never felt unsafe with those tires, either riding in the rain or dry or mountains or just what have you. And I rode on some really slick roads in the George Washington National Forest because it had rained a good bit and there were a lot of leaves on the road. So just another area to slow down and be cautious. Got to Maggie Valley, spent the night, had a good night's sleep. Next day, I run by the Wheels Through Time Motorcycle Museum. If you've never been to that, I highly recommend to go see it. It's very, very cool. It's in a beautiful location there in Maggie Valley. Sadly, the original owner, Dale Walksler, passed a couple of years ago, but his son is taking it over and is doing an admirable job of, keeping the museum going and all of the old motorcycles running. So that's just a testament to, I think his father providing good guidance and mentorship to his son on, what his vision for all those motorcycles was. So kudos to that. Go see it. It's really cool. After that, I decided to go through the Smoky Mountains, head on home, which was about a 12-hour drive, and like I say, because I made a kind of a detour to do that. I really didn't plan on riding all the way home that night, but I just decided I was going to do it. So I rode on home, got home about, I'd say sometime midnight, 12:30. I was tired, of course. Who wouldn't be tired riding a motorcycle that far? But once again, I was not beat up. Couldn't walk the next day. Felt fine. Could have actually got in the saddle next morning and rode just as far. So overall, my opinions on the Voyager is it's just a solid tour machine. It is, it kind of comes like a lot of people can't say it's a blank canvas and you can make it your own, which you can. I have made upgrades to it that appeal to me and the way I ride and things I look for in comfort and rideability and making just a motorcycle a better experience for me and my passenger. So with that in mind, I wish you well. And if you have any questions or comments about any of the upgrades that I've made, by far, please reach out to me. I hope, making these videos is a bit of a chore at times. It takes time, especially learning new software. But, I think I've kind of got the handle on it. But I appreciate you guys stopping by and checking it out. God bless and good luck.